Salut tout le monde et bienvenue sur United Rock Nation. Si vous voyez un grand sourire sur mon visage, c'est parce que je suis avec un de mes groupes préférés, Carach Angren, que je suis depuis à peu près 10 ans maintenant et qu'on a suivi déjà avec United Rock Nations. La dernière interview, c'était en juin dernier, quelques jours avant leur apparition au Hellfest. C'était avec Ardec, qui est dans le coin là-bas et que vous ne pouvez pas voir. Alors, c'est une interview qui est vraiment très spéciale, parce que tel que vous nous voyez là, on vient d'écouter le nouvel album en intégralité, en avant-première. Donc quand vous verrez cette vidéo, il sera sans doute quelques mois plus tard. Là, on est fin janvier. Et je suis avec Seregor, du coup, pour parler du nouvel album. Et on va aussi faire une petite rétrospective de ce qui s'est passé les 6 derniers mois après cette fameuse interview de juin. So, Seregor, I'd like to thank you very much for being with us today on United Rock Nations.
Thank you. Good to be here.
It's good to be here too. So as I was saying, this is a very special time because we just listened to the new album in its entirety, in its beautiful setting. You know, there is a good head on the wall. I'll show it later on. There are some candles. So the mood is set. So you told me before that it's not an usual thing you do to have a listening session. Usually you send the album to the press, so the journalists they listen to the album and then you have interviews. But this time you decided to do a small listening session tour. Can you tell us a little bit more why you chose to do that and which countries you visited so far?
Thanks to our help from Season of Mist, this is the first time we've been getting like 3 listening sessions in a row for this album. So the first one was actually the most memorable one. It was held in Castle Franckenstein in Darmstadt in Germany. And this was so beautiful. It was misty and foggy, so you went up to the castle and you were just in the right atmosphere for that situation. The second one we held in Nijmegen last week, and this one is here in Paris. So it's a great combination. Last time we did it for a previous album, we did it only one time in our country. So it's growing also with the listening session. So
yeah. So obviously we're going to talk about the new album, but beforehand I'd like to ask you some more general questions about the band and what you guys been doing, since the last time we spoke. We spoke with Ardec. So at the time we last saw you, you were in the middle, or at the beginning of the Pitch Black Summer Tour in Europe, which was one of your biggest shows. It was your first headlining shows in Europe. Yeah. You played over almost 40 shows in 20 different countries, and you played some major festivals like Hellfest. Yeah. So what was your impression about this tour?
Yeah, I love this tour a lot. For us, this was pure energy, and especially with the Hellfest show. I think it's one of our milestones, so to say. We had all the appropriate stage props for that, so I can't wait to go back there, Hellfest, yeah.
Here comes the carriage wheel master!
But the whole tour in entirety was a success for us, yeah, and I hope it keeps growing like that. And meanwhile, we have been actually not so busy since that time. We just had the 70,000 tons of metal, the cruise ship, but actually all this time we've been writing on this album, so it's more dug in at home, trying to reach the spirit and write dark material.
About the live shows, there's something that I think a lot of your fans are waiting for, and especially since you've been touring for quite some time now, is a live album or a live release on Blu-ray, on video. Is this a project that you guys are thinking about?
Oh, you mean for like a live concert? Not yet. We have the questions more, but we have nothing specific where we're going to release it. First this album, and then let's see if we have some good footage, then we'll probably do something like that. Yeah. So can't wait for that.
Sure. So this year is a very special year for you. It's 2020. So it's a new album is coming out. It's your 6th full-length album. But it's also a year of anniversary because it's going to be the 5th anniversary of This Is No Fairy Tale, the 10th anniversary of Death Came Through Phantom Ship, and the 15th anniversary of Ethereal Bad Existence. So a very special year for Carach. Are you guys going to, in addition to playing the new songs on the album, pay a little tribute to these older releases?
During the shows we will always perform older songs, but it's not like we're going to do, let's say for the first album we're going to play more songs for that, because we have to keep it new, especially with the new album. So, but that's always hard to pick in Carach Angren. We got so many songs we love to play, so it's a difficult choice.
It always is better. I really liked the last time you played because there were some songs from Lamendam that you guys hadn't been playing for a while that came out in the set list. So it's always nice to have this blast from the past. So over the years, you guys have been growing and getting more and more attention and audience, which I think is very deserved, I have to say. And your stage machinery, your stage settings, and all the theatrics that you do have always improved both in quantity and in quality. So that's great. My question is, what I love about it is that although it keeps growing, it always has this DIY feeling to it. It really feels homemade and sincere. With the rise in your financial means, technical and logistical, do you think that you would still love doing things by yourself, or do you think that you would like to hand it over to stage companies and providers?
At a certain point, if you want to grow with shows and you want to make things better, you have to make a choice. Yeah, you can never do anything yourself. So, for example, I can do my movements, I can do some tricks on stage, but yeah, if it comes to bigger things, then you need, for example, like fire, bigger backdrops, stage props like that. Yeah, you have to give it away. But it's a combination of all. You play with the entire setting around. So. Yeah, I think we'll find new ways to make that bigger too, because one man is just not enough to get the whole spectacle going.
Last time I saw you playing guitar on stage was 8 years ago. Yeah. It was in Lyon, and you had also Nico Mavridis on stage on violin. It was for the World Corps Sing Forever tour. So now you're no longer playing guitar on stage. Yogi is playing the guitar, and you focus entirely on singing and also on acting, because there's a lot of acting in Carach shows. How did the decision to focus entirely on that and hand the guitar over come? And did you feel like it was a difficult choice to make to let go of the guitar?
Yeah, it was a difficult choice. It was around 2015. Actually, it started with an injury in my thumb, so it was like too much movement. It's like tennis arm, this kind of thing. And so we had a new friend of ours who's doing the guitars now. That's Bastien Beau. And actually, since I gave the guitars away, I could see all of a sudden I was free, and I had many more movements, so many more places to act. And yeah, I think it took like months to not feel naked without a guitar, so to say. But yeah, now I realize after a year, 1.5 years, I was like, holy shit, this is way better than, because you always have to make a choice. It's if you stick to the guitar, you have to play tight, but you make little mistakes at the moment if you try to give a little extra show. So yeah, it actually went only upwards since that decision. So I don't regret it. I still write guitars, and but I could never do both the same at 100%. So yeah, I'm glad I went for the vocals.
Because the guitar parts are so hard to play, and if you have to sing at the same time in a syncopated rhythm, it's almost impossible to do. Yeah, so but we cannot but be amazed by your stage presence. You do a lot of theatrics, and you really go in deep into the character. So I have two questions about that. First one is, when you before you go on stage, do you think that you prepare more like a singer or more like an actor? And the second one is, have you ever done theater studies or movie studies or acting studies?
Actually, when it comes to warming up, yeah, I should do it more. But in a way, in most cases, I just jump on and I'll get warm. And so yeah, maybe for me, I'm more warm up like an actor. It's more a mind thing, I guess, instead of getting my vocals warm. Yeah. And the second question was again?
Did you ever took acting courses?
No, never. No. The only thing I did when I was younger was martial arts, taekwondo. It was always my thing. I did that for 14 years. And so maybe my movements and stuff comes from that, but I never did anything with musicals or dancing, or so the whole Seregor thing is natural, yeah, invented.
That's great. Storytelling is what you guys are known for, and the new album is a testament to that as well. You like combining fiction with real events by binding them together. And also you give your own versions of popular stories. For example, in This Is No Fairy Tale, this is your twisted version of Hansel and Gretel by the Grimm brothers. And this new album is about Frankenstein. But this time, what you've done is that what Hardek told us about earlier on is that you try to talk about the pieces of the story that are less known, that are not quite shown in the movies, especially the suffering of the monster. Who's thinking about its own condition as a monster. So can you tell us a bit more about the way you write stories and you approach them? How do you build them?
It depends. It's always a big work to start out. Actually, Carach has his version of the tales where he worked on. It started for him with his dream, and he found out that Dr. Dippel, Johann Conrad Dippel, is actually the real Frankenstein. So we all also already know this thing from Mary Shelley, and but the guy apparently lived real there, and so he did these experiments, and Mary Shelley passed that area, so she probably picked that up. It's never been proven, but maybe apparently she took the story from there. So this was also a very wise decision for us to say, okay, let's go into the Frankenstein theme, but not too much movie-like, and combine that with other stories. And it was really fun because we had some main puzzle ideas for this. One was like monster, for example. So we're gonna work on the different stories about the monster. There's one side where Carach explains also the sad side of the monster. So the monster a lot of times created by the doctor, but who is the monster? Maybe the doctor is more the monster now for neglecting it. And my part, for example, is the vampire of Nuremberg. So we actually used a vampire on this album too, but not like the typical one with the teeth. This one was a real monster too, because he lived, and this was a necrophiliac. And this guy was known for, he shot his victims. He just got out of jail since 2004, I think. He's still alive with a different name, and. But he killed 2 people, and he drank blood from their shotgun wounds, and he believed that he could stay young that way, because so it's a way of vampirism. And also the connection to Frankenstein here is he thought he could stay alive forever with this blood, so he was experimenting with this thing, and this is fun to do. This is how we've connected different stories together. So not just simply by starting out the doctor creating a monster, getting it alive, but something that intertwines all together. So yeah, a lot of stories that you go through if you check the album, but you have to read the lyrics yourself.
So yeah, what you told us is that there is an underlying topic, which is trying to become God and conquer death, find the secret to life and create life by oneself. And this topic obviously makes us think about Frankenstein, but this story about this vampire that you talk about is also linked to that, because there is this quest for eternal life through dark arts. Exactly, always that. It is a real. This is what is interesting about Carach, is it's not just ghost stories or legends, but it's stories that sometimes reality is stranger than fiction. Exactly, all the other way around. And I find it very interesting that you guys made links to reality through through our stories that could be seen as fictional.
Yeah.
So that's really what I like about this, your storytelling.
Cut, Bob! Repeat after me. God damn it! Now in Dutch. Godverdomme! In the name of the devil. In de naam van de duivel!
In this album, like in all the albums, we hear English, which is your baseline singing language, but we hear also other language. We hear German, for example. Yeah, German is in there, and Dutch as well, I believe. Or
Actually, only German on this one. Yeah. It's because the Franckenstein story it plays in Germany, so it was very simple to go for that choice. I think there's only 2 parts on the whole album where I explicitly used German language. Yeah. So, but nothing, unfortunately, no French and Dutch on this one. So, maybe for the next concept.
Yeah, I would love to, because we had some French in the La Madame, La Madame Blanche, and obviously Dutch in almost every album. Most
are Dutch, so that's why we get away with it, you know.
Sure. So this is a great link to my next question. Is in the extreme metal scene, especially the black metal scene, it's not uncommon for bands to be singing in their mother tongue. So if you take Dimmu Borgir, they've released entire albums in Norwegian. Same for Enslaved, and also for Velotax. So it's not black metal, but it's also extreme metal. They sing entirely Norwegian. So do you think at some point you would release an entire song sung in Dutch, or even an album?
Interesting question. Maybe it crossed my mind. I could do that maybe if I had a certain concept, certain Dutch concept, and maybe then a whole Dutch song would be a good option. But it depends on the writing, I think. If for one way, I would say it's too difficult for people to understand. But on the other hand, if you do 9 numbers with English and this one just Dutch, I think it would work. Yeah. But it depends all. It's like a puzzle, so maybe the puzzle would come out with a whole Dutch song. Yeah. Let's see.
It has to ties to the concept, obviously. In this album, what I immediately noticed, so this is my reaction just after hearing it, I thought that the introductions and the outro of the albums were quite original and different from what you guys been doing so far. For instance, there is songs that have, the first song is a spoken introduction with a narrative voice. Then we have some electronic samples at some point. There is a song that has this very strong beat, like a tum tum ta, tum tum, like that, which is monster. And the last one is very. You've been doing symphonic metal for years now, but this one really feels like romantic music. It's the concept has been pushed quite far. So did you guys try to do that on purpose, or did you just went to play and this turned out to be okay? Or we should do this intro like this or like that?
It's a whole process where Arctic starts with his symphonies, and but it's 50-50, I think. So you just start writing, you have music, I come up with a story about it, it goes back to Arctic, so it's been sent hands and forth, so at the end you have a song. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the process, if you have like 9 or 10 songs, then you're gonna switch them together and see like, okay, what's the nice one to start with, and what has the nicest outro. So I think also for this one, Arctic specifically was thinking like, okay, this should be the last song, so this needs to be a Carach Angren outro, and in most cases, a Carach Angren outro is very symphonic, melodic, very story-like, you know, and we have the same on this. I think it's a great fit to go to the end. Then all of a sudden it starts the bonus track. Of course, that's something different, but no, it's not always on purpose. Just sometimes when you have to look like, okay, we need to have an end song now because we need to make a fitting end. So it's sometimes yes, sometimes no. That's the answer.
So talking about singing now, we could hear some clean voices on the album, which is quite unusual for Carach. You've had clean choirs, but really clean singing per se, it's quite unusual. So how did you choose to do that? What was the idea behind that?
There's actually a lot of times when we get songs and we're sitting at home listening, and all of a sudden, yeah, you get an idea. So it's just that's where it started. It's and then you sing something along, and you're like, oh shit, this would fit nicely because we are so used to this black metal, death metal, grunting voice. So and yeah, we have more with melodies than other bands. So. So we felt like, okay, if we can do something clean here, we should try it, you know. And it's not so easy for me as my normal vocals. I'm not a clean singer. But we did well after many tries. Also Ardak, his voice is also on this album, so we do both ways, the clean vocals on this one. Yeah, and it was challenging, but also fun to do. It was we had lots of fun recording this, and let's see how we do this live.
Sure, we can't wait to see that. I have to mention that Ardak sings as well. He released a solo album last year where he sings. So he's gonna be, as Seregor just said, he also sings on the album, so we can hear his voices as well. What was great about the album as well is that the violin was back. There were a lot of violin parts. So is Nico Mavridis back on the album?
He did some tracks on this album, yeah. In the studio, he played some stuff for us to make it more real instead of the normal synthesizer sound. So you always feel the difference between a violin and a synthesizer. So yeah, we had to ask his favors for this. Yeah.
Is he going to be joining you guys live for a few dates?
Live, we're not sure. We're not even sure about shows we're gonna do soon. So, but could be that we're gonna ask Nikos again for the future. But nothing planned for that yet.
Yeah, because Nikos was the violinist for the Funerary Dirge of a Violinist on the Where the Corpse Sing Forever album, and now he's back for this new album. Okay, so that's great. So this album is quite intense. I mean, it's really fast. It's very technical as well. It feels really back to the roots of black metal. In some of the latest albums, you play a little bit like a Blackened Death. You mixed a little bit of death metal elements in your albums, but this one really feels like black metal. There's a lot of blast beats, very fast double bass. Very strong vocals. What are the songs that you feel would be the most challenging to play live, and what are the songs that you would love playing live the most? You think?
From this album, it's always still a bit difficult to say because once we play, we know. Now we just always have been recording them, but. I think for Franckensteina Strataemontanus, the second song, I think this one is going to be a lot of fun to do. So, I think this album has these differences. You have, for example, the Monster song. It's like monster. It's a bit like Pitch Black Box. So these are easier things to play. So normally, if you would talk about Carach Angren speed, like, oh no, we're going slower. No, we always want fast, of course. But for these songs, these are obvious choices, and they work very well live. So it's always fun to do this, and you really can feel the marching of it, you know. So Morceaux will be fun to do it, and then there's Skull with a Forked Tongue. This is a more fast one. So I think it helps. It all helps in another. If you just have to play fast songs, you get easy in that rhythm, you know. You get used to too much. So I think the dynamics in Carach Angren is perfect for that. So I have to see which one I personally like. You know, it's a matter of experiencing. But I think, yeah, if we could play this whole album like this, it would be perfect. Yeah, it would be fun to do. Yeah.
We can wait for that. Yeah.
You see how much fun I have with certain songs. If I smile more with this song than the others.
So you talked about Pitch Black Box, which was on the latest album, and what's also very nice about it is that you guys made it a physical item, so you could buy this deluxe edition when you had the album in the Pitch Black Box, which is mentioned in the lyrics. Will you do something similar with this album, like having physical items that are referred to in the album?
Yeah, I cannot say much about it, but yes, there will be a physical item connected to the concept. Yes, yeah, connected to the Franckenstein thing. So, but you'll have to buy the package for that and find out.
We will, because there is a bonus track on it, and believe me, it's a killer one. So you don't want to miss the deluxe edition.
Exactly. Buy it.
And it's also a way to develop narration, because you talk about an item, and this item exists in real life. So it's a great way to bridge, you know, what we talked about earlier, this bridge between reality and fiction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's hard for me to tell because you don't know what it is yet. But yeah, I think, and it's always thinking like, okay, we're gonna put something with there for a fan or for someone who buys it. What's the most memorable thing to give someone, you know? So, and actually, we're still thinking about that. But yeah, you will have something, a thing from the past, so to say. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your work outside of Carach. So your fans may know, I mean, you're known for your talent as a mask maker. You develop a very impressive craft, and you sell your creations online on your website, Seregor Death Masks. And how did you develop that craft? And how do you, I mean, do you think that you would like to work for movies, horror movies, and do some stage settings or stage costume or cinema masks for horror movies?
Actually, it's all a combination of Carach Angren and making masks. I think it always went together hand in hand. I'm not sure if I would want to do real movie things, because already as a singer I make masks for the show. I think this is enough for me. So I don't know if I would like that. Maybe because I do things with freedom, you know. So if you're in a movie, you have to hit your deadlines, I guess. So I'm not sure. Maybe it would be a challenge for the future. But well, I started out in 2010, I think, somewhere. Actually, Michael Myers' Halloween. He inspired me. Rob Zombie's version, where you walk into the cell when Michael Myers is 15 years older, and you walk in, you see all these paper mache masks. And this is what gives me the idea of like, hey, this is fucking cool. You walk into a house, you have masks, none of them is smiling. All of them are demonic. So that's when I started to work with this paper stuff. And recently, quickly, I found out that you have plaster stripes to make harder masks. A couple of years after that, I started working with clay, like modeling clay. And this is how I developed it a little bit. But I think the band is always the thing why I kept doing it, yeah. So this always give me new ideas to think of something for stage, and meanwhile the fans started liking it too and buying or ordering more masks. So yeah, this is how it stayed, yeah. Carach Angren shows and mask making, so it's a fine job.
It is indeed. And before the mask, you were the one behind the awesome corpse paints that you guys are wearing on stage. And I heard that at some point at the beginning you were doing the corpse paints for each of your bandmates. So now they're doing it themselves, or more or less, or.
And now Arctic is the only one doing it for himself. All the others I have to do. So, but I'm glad to do it. I mean, I'm very quick at it. You know, if other guys who are not used to it, if you give them a pencil there, just to stick out their eyes. So it's better than I do it. Yeah, you got to get used to that. It took me many years too to be very agile in that. So yeah, I'll take care of that.
I have a question as well. Is what do you like to do when you're not composing, playing music, or doing your mask, or anything that is Carach related?
Different things. Maybe play some games, PC games. I watch a lot of movies. I like to shoot with my air rifle, just some cans and small stuff like that. So, or just hang out with some friends. So the simple life, nothing special.
It's a good life. It's
Complain, yeah, I cannot complain. No.
Well, Seregor, I'd like to thank you very much for your time for this very special event. I'm all excited by what I heard, and I have to say I can't wait to that the album is released, to be listening to it again and see you guys play shows in France and everywhere in the world. I wish you all the best, and thanks a lot again for this incredible event.
Thank you for your cool questions, and I hope to be back in France soon. Show.
You're always welcome in France, you know that. Okay.
Thank you guys.
Merci à tous, merci beaucoup d'avoir suivi United Rock Nation. C'était Seregor de Carach Angren. On se retrouve très prochainement pour une nouvelle interview. D'ici là, portez-vous bien. Rock on!